Giving it a moment to breathe on the Artie Lange Show from the SCMadison.com studios. On the phone now is a guy who's a regular on our show. We love having him here. We asked him to do the show tonight, and we tried to bump him because Daryl's really funny, but then he called back and said he had already tweeted it, like I care. So to make sure Casey doesn't screw over his 8 followers,
what is this sport?
this guy is as knowledgeable as a guy is you can imagine on baseball.
Oh, baseball.
Baseball and
football. And he gives good relationship advice, oddly enough. I've asked him off the air. And he's a good person.
Yeah.
And he puts up with our crap.
Good.
He can't get on Letterman, is why he's here. Casey Stern. Casey?
Artie, you had me at putting up with everyone's crap. That's the best intro I've ever. That's now I'm gonna be the first to ever edit his own Wikipedia page. I will now put that edits and in there, and I take everybody's crap. Happy New Year, people. What's going on, guys?
The fact that you're editing your Wikipedia page.
That's it.
Where I'm from, that's grounds to punch you in the face.
Can I ask you today? Today they kind of made Mike Piazza the focal point about the steroid debate.
They did.
Yeah.
Well,
Basically, it's like going, look, someone, you have a body of opinion going, greatest hitting catcher of all time.
Of course.
And then you have people on the
Except
other side
Yogi Berra.
going, he gained 40 pounds of muscle as a male adult, not doable. And when he was in the minor leagues, we never saw this coming.
Right. Well, no, it was the Barry Bonds thing. I don't mind that he gained 40 pounds one summer. It's weird that it was in his forehead.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about that case? And Mike Piazza, what do you know about him?
Well, I mean, look, what we don't know is the fact that we don't have any proof. So, look, if Bonds and Clemens are at the forefront of the two guys that we all know did it. Piazza and Bagwell are guys who, have size, and people think, okay, because they were big, that maybe they did it. But really, it extends to everybody now in the era. Craig Biggio missed out by 2 votes today, and we had, folks that we had brought on the last couple of days who said they didn't vote for him because somebody had told them he was on steroids.
Right, that cost him. Yeah.
But
why do they bring...
Yesterday said 12 out of 20 people he talked to said he was on steroids. But if you talk to his teammates or anybody who's played against him, not one person in 10 years have I ever heard ever claim Craig Biggio. He's not like whether Piazza or Bonds or any of these guys. Really, this is somebody who played the game the right way and had never had any kind of a suspicion whatsoever. So it's just complete, BS. The idea that these guys sit up there, eat wet turkeys in a press box and look down and get the point and decide who's been cheating their whole life.
Yeah.
Getting into a museum is one thing, but when you're pointing and basically, saying that a guy's career was a load of crap, that's, to me...
Yeah, why Piazza,
it's
though?
ridiculous.
Why?
Well, everybody thinks that he was on steroids.
Why?
Back hair. I had one person tell me who was a voter. This is now 2 years in a row. Marty Noble telling us, who covered the Mets, that he didn't like the back acne and asked a doctor about it and said it was a symptom of steroids and didn't vote for him. I talked to a guy yesterday who didn't vote for more than 3 people on the ballot because the ceremony is too long. So these are the people that we're allowing to vote for the Hall of Fame.
Hey, my cousin's Italian, Piazza. My cousin has a bunch of acne. I'll show that to you.
Did Clemens get any votes today, for instance?
Yeah, he got like 30-some-odd%. Piazza got 62. You need 75 to get in. Piazza's going to get in. It'll probably take him another couple of years.
He's such a beautiful player.
Yeah, no, I know. Well,
Piazza's amazing.
Here's the thing. It's like, so a big precedent's been set today. The first 3,000 hit guy that's been eligible, they're going, no, just from rumors. Rumors about it. So these writers, Craig Biggio, so these writers are saying, look, if there's solid evidence, forget it. Forget even trying. Clemens, it might take 100 years if he ever gets in.
Well, don't you only have 15 years?
This is 3 years now for Biggio that he hasn't gotten in. He'll get in next year. But to me, the idea that we're sitting there, the only thing we could judge is whether or not we think the players were good enough and they belong in the Hall of Fame. If you want to start eliminating that guys shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because you think they did steroids, then we should take 20 years of statistics and wins and World Series and just dump them all out the window and not pretend that any of that exists.
But then Mo Rivera doesn't get in, and then Jeter doesn't get in.
Right. Well, actually, and just to go to that point, one of the voters, Ken Gurnick, who works for MLB.com, he did not vote for Greg Maddux. 16 people did not vote for Greg Maddux.
Why?
So imagine those people.
I can't put, that's like Hank Aaron. Well, you could look. Maybe there were some lunatic writers who were just that racist at the time. So maybe you could say that's why Hank Aaron didn't get 100. Because Hank Aaron not getting 100% is the most unexplainable thing.
You're telling me there are people that didn't vote for Hank Aaron to get in the Hall
There
of Fame?
are.
Yeah, nobody unanimous.
Oh, stop.
97 for Cal Ripken Jr. had like 97%. Tony Gwynn had like 98. Schmidt and Sieber up there. Maddox had 97 today.
But Gwynn got 98?
Yeah, 98.
Good.
Yeah, Tony
Good.
Gwynn,
Good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He deserves it. But.
Yeah,
Love it.
I mean, just to give you an example, so 16 of the 571 don't vote for Maddox. One of them who didn't vote for him, Ken Gurnick, didn't vote for anybody because he refused to vote for anyone who played in the steroid era.
What?
We brought him on yesterday. He was so distraught from the reaction of people crushing him on Twitter that he actually handed in and rescinded his vote and is now no longer voting for the Hall of Fame.
Good, he shouldn't.
Which is true. Another vote was sold to Deadspin. Dan Lebatard down in Miami sold his vote to Deadspin and let them put a poll where fans voted on the website. The Hall of Fame and the way it's voted on right now is it's one of those things where, like Twitter or anywhere else, the vocal minority of idiots are getting the big loud voices. I think there are a lot of writers, guys, who handle it the right way, but because you got a few idiots in the room, I think it's now one of these things that's looked at like a sham.
Wait a minute. So this guy let Twitter people vote, and they voted against Maddox.
Can I ask you, what about a guy like Dave Parker?
Well, I don't know. What about a guy
love
like
that
Dave
guy.
Parker?
I mean,
First of all,
is he on the ballot?
green eyes, very
No, not
attractive.
anymore. He's past the 15 years. Dave Parker, Jim Cott, Tommy John. I'm just naming some of the guys off the top of my head that everybody always.
Well, today Jack
complains.
Morris missed it, and this was his 15th year.
Wow.
Right,
So
Casey?
okay, that's a crime. Casey, can we talk about Jack Morris?
Sure.
Are you as passionate as I am about that? How is that guy not in the Hall of Fame?
No, it's ridiculous. I'll tell you the reason why, and that's the 3.9 ERA. And now we live in a
How
world where wins
ridiculous.
are not supposed to be important.
Yeah.
So we're only supposed to care about ERA and WHIP and take out our TI-82 calculators and start measuring with protractors and nonsense to find out baseball. One thing I know about Jack Morris is in 3 different decades, this guy was a big game pitcher. He was the guy who wanted to hand the ball in Game 7. 91 World Series, the best game I've ever seen pitched with him against Smoltz in that World Series. And I think for me, it's a travesty that it took 15 years, but therein lies another problem. What kind of a dumb thing is it that we're sitting with the Hall of Fame? I've been talking about this for 10 years, where you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, or maybe like Burt Blyleven will punish you for 14 years. The stats don't change. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, where, okay, well, you know what? You were good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, but only to sit there and wait 7 years. We'll put Tony Gwynn in the first time, but you'll wait 7. Nah, Piazza, you're good, but you kind of had back hair and acne, so I'll let you wait 5 years. The whole idea is stupid.
Is that what's happening with Don Mattingly? I mean, why did he only get 8.2% of the vote?
John, the thing with Mattingly,
he's
his
not
longevity.
Yeah, that's the problem. I see that. I'm a Yankee fan. I see that.
That's the question I wanted to bring up because Sandy Koufax is maybe the most effective pitcher I've ever seen.
Right.
But he only pitched like 4 years.
He had like about 6 amazing years.
Is that right?
He had 6, but that's a phenomenal
For a
point that you
pitcher.
bring
But did
up.
he get in?
He's
No,
in.
he is a Hall of Famer. It's a phenomenal point you bring up, Daryl. He's the guy that you probably would, and I think if you're a football fan, you bring up like a Jim Brown or even a Barry Sanders who gave up at 30. But the difference is when you talk about Koufax and Jim Brown and Barry Sanders, talking about guys who people consider to be maybe the greatest of all time.
Right.
All 3 of those are in that category.
Koufax always
Don
comes
Mattingly's just not that guy.
Yeah, Mattingly's not the Sandy Koufax of that sort of category.
Yeah.
Koufax, everyone always says they went up against him. You couldn't hit him.
People saying
when he
he's
was
not hittable.
How many perfect games of no hitters did Koufax have? Did he have?
I think he had 3.
He had a bunch of no hitters.
3 no hitters.
He had at least 3, and for a 6-year period, you can make a case.
Come on,
that's
man.
as good a 5 or 6 year span as you've ever seen in the
That's
sport.
insane.
Bob Gibson, a couple others probably in that category. Mattingly was a guy who for a couple of years was as good a hitter as you're going to find. And I think in his era was one of the best first basemen. but he's just one of those guys. I'll give you, Fred McGriff is a guy who's kind of sat around 15, 20%. McGriff, what did he do wrong? Well, he was 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, it seemed like every year, but he was never the best. So some guys are the best for too short a period of time. Other guys are always good for a long period of time, but are never great. And I think even though these might be stupid reasons, this is what keeps some of the guys out of the
I
Hall.
started thinking about Pedro Martinez today. Did he get voted?
No, he's not
He's
eligible.
not eligible.
Next year, yeah.
He was a beautiful pitcher.
And I hope he goes into the Broadcast Hall of Fame as well, Pedro Martinez. I don't know. I've seen his analogy. It's unbelievable. But they throw it to him, and he just goes, I tell you, I love the game. Is that Harold Reynolds over there? No, I listen. My father didn't want Sandy Koufax in the Hall of Fame, I remember.
What?
Well, because he would tell me because he's got a broad's name. That's what he said. That was the problem. Very close-minded.
Well,
Very
at least
close-minded.
he wasn't because he's not an anti-Semite, so that's good.
No, my father loved Jewish people. He just hates
that's
guys
good.
with chicks' names.
Oh.
Okay.
Sa-
All right.
How do you feel about that, Casey?
I feel great. Normally it's Boschetti who's got that kind of issues with
No,
people.
I love Jewish people more than anybody. Really.
My
right.
father
More
took-
than anybody? More than blacks?
I love everybody equally, actually.
Yeah.
Explain yourself. So are you saying you hate black people?
No, I don't hate anybody.
But you like Jewish people?
No, I don't hate anybody.
So you like Jewish people more than anybody?
You hate Steve from New York
Well, he's an idiot.
He was saying some smart
and
things.
Beth from California.
Who's that?
Casey, what about Foghorn Leghorn's assessment that if you don't play baseball as a kid, you are homosexual?
Yeah. Well, with me, it was football.
I played all sports as a kid. I don't know if I would go as far to say as you're a homosexual. I do think.
Really? So you're
maybe
saying your
maybe
blog
that
is
could
wrong?
be going a little bit overboard. Like, for example, like if you don't play baseball but you listen to Kiss and you're into rock music, like I'm okay with that. If you don't play baseball but you're watching Dawson's Creek episodes, then maybe it's a different question.
How much of a Twitter whore are you? Would you block somebody because you think they had an offensive Twitter handle?
No, I could care less.
All right. Well, I'm going down some of your followers. How many do you have?
Not enough.
Okay.
No, I hate Twitter. It's part of the job,
Are you
though,
only a baseball
unfortunately.
fanatic, or do you like other sports?
I love other sports.
You like football?
I cover football. I
What's
do.
the third sport you played? You played baseball, basketball?
I wrestled.
You did? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. You're probably a tough guy.
I was,
that's the
and
toughest
in
sport out there.
my years now, I just lose a receding hairline and eat too much.
So you
But
were you were baseball, basketball, and wrestling.
yeah,
No.
Baseball for a while, basketball until everyone else grew and the milk didn't do anything for me, and wrestling for a while.
I come from the Space Coast in Florida. Chris Collinsworth, Clint Hurdle, Bruce Bochy, and a guy named Lee Nelson who turned me gay when he knocked me out that night. That's what everyone thought. It's like-
Listen, who doesn't have a Lee Nelson story? Like
yeah. Well, he knocked out Tony Dorsett too. He really would hurt guys.
Hey, so Casey, do you think the Hall of Fame is becoming a little bit of a joke with this steroid stuff? If Big Joe's not getting in just because of rumors, and Maddox doesn't get in because someone doesn't get 100% because a vote was sold to Twitter. What are we doing here? Why have it?
Look, I think if you want to think about what the biggest problem is, I think one place to go is that there's no direction. The Hall of Fame voters don't have any direction from the Hall itself, where I think that, and I talked about this, we had Jeff Idelson, the president of the Hall of Fame, on today, and I asked him this every year. No, we have everything changed. You sit there and you look in the crowd, guys, and you've got people, iPods, people sitting there watching, porn while the guy next to him is playing Candy Crush or God only knows what in the seventh inning, and we're not playing Atari anymore. Nobody's playing
Tim
Space
Raines?
Invaders. So why with the Hall of Fame do we not change and try and get better? And in my opinion, one thing that I think we could do to fix this is if the Hall of Fame came out and said, hey, look, this is a museum. This is supposed to be educating the history of baseball, and it's not all going to be good. The history of no country, of no franchise, of no family is all, beautiful roses and flowers. If we treat it that way, I think we realize, okay, we're going to let the best players in, even if we think they might have done steroids, and we'll tell the truth. Put up the articles. Put up the information on the plaques. I think if they gave them that kind of a modus operandi, if you will, I think then Bonds and Clemens and those guys get in. Instead, they allow them to play judge and jury and say this.
Did
guy
Frank
did
Thomas get in
steroids or,
today?
all that other kind of
Oh,
stuff.
that's good. I love Frank Thomas.
Listen, by the way, on our Twitter, we're going to have a contest. If someone can properly explain Casey's Space Invaders metaphor,
No, I can.
I will send.
I can.
You can, go ahead.
Yes. He said now people are playing Candy Crush and watching porn on their phones.
Right.
They're not sitting around playing Atari 2600 and Space Invaders.
Oh.
Why not adapt to the times
Correct.
and move the hall,
you.
move the voting ahead to the present day technology, the
Yeah.
present day outlook?
Yes, correct.
That's one of the. See, I think you're one of these guys who uses too many metaphors. If that's the
It is definitely possible.
I really liked it. It's
I like to go to
Thank you,
Golden
John,
Corral.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks.
I like go ahead.
Now this is a
Sorry.
guy. This is a very knowledgeable guy.
He's super knowledgeable.
What? Now you have a show. When is your show on? We never let you plug the show. When's your show?
Monday through Friday, 2 through 6, MLB Network Radio, and then Sunday, pregame show, our tailgate, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be getting you ready for the games on Sunday.
Nice.
Last week, look, I love baseball, but you take Saturday and Sunday's games and compile that with one of the better championships games we've seen. Football over a 72-hour span, own sports, and I don't think there's anything else we're going to get in this winter that's going to come close to it. That was a hell of a
That was
weekend for that
almost
sport.
like being on drugs. How good that weekend was.
Oh,
I tell you, for me, it's further away from drugs for me. But
I mean, I don't know anything about San Diego, but the other games, oh my God, was that good?
I love the BSC. What's a BSC bowl? BCM bowl?
Oh, the BCS.
But it was not even close to drugs for me. Maybe I'm a jerk.
I don't know, but I mean, having that much high stakes football for 48 hours is pretty damn good.
I'd rather have
It's
some
always fun when
pharmaceutical grade
nobody plays
coke during the
defense.
Laverne and Shirley marathon. Now? So I mean, again, I think the Hall of Fame is really damaging itself. These writers are looking too pompous, and Biggio definitely gets in next year. What if he doesn't?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
well,
come on,
he'll
that's
definitely
ridiculous.
Look, he's 2 votes short. There were 2 people who told me today, there's a limit at 10. So one of the other stupid things is, if you're a Hall of Famer, the first year you should get in. Why am I waiting 10? Well, if I think 14 people are Hall of Famers, what the hell are you telling me I can only put 10 guys in? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But there were a couple of people who didn't put Biggio on because I think, I can't remember who it was, John or Dow, somebody mentioned Jack Morris's last year. There were a couple of guys who didn't put Biggio on because they put Morris on because they wanted to give him a chance in his final year. So there
Travesty.
were people who would have voted for Biggio this year anyway. He'll definitely get in, but next year, crowded ballot, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, 2 of the shoo-ins for next year.
well, travesty that he's
Rafael Palmeiras, that's never going to happen.
Jack. I know he's steroids. Jack Morris though not getting in is terrible. It's terrible. It really is.
Hey, what about Larry Walker? Are people saying that he was a steroid user too?
No, he's one of those guys, and again, this is stupid, but he's one of those guys because there are better players on the ballot, he's kind of just hanging in the background and waiting in the weeds. And, when the dodgeball game and the people who are throwing the balls get hit and he's standing in the background and the only one left, he'll get chosen in. Alan Trammell, Tim Raines, a lot of the guys, John, that are just not as big names as some of the ones that just went, like Maddox and Glavine, are hanging out there. But no steroid issues whatsoever with Larry Walker. The other thing I'd point out real quick is that one of the arguments people have for some of the guys they don't vote for is I can't vote for Jack Morris because he's not Pedro Martinez, or I can't vote for Craig Biggio because he's not Willie Mays. It's the dumbest, stupidest thing I've ever heard of. It doesn't mean that you don't think that Clyde Drexler's a Hall of Famer because Michael Jordan is. Not everybody in the Hall of Fame is going to be the greatest guy to ever play.
Listen, there'd be 9 guys in the Hall of Fame if they put him up.
But you just said that someone didn't vote for Hank Aaron.
Right.
A few people. Yes.
Well, I mean,
Really?
again, back then, maybe you could say a couple of Southern writers, maybe there was still that kind of
You must be
racism going on.
joking.
I mean, as hard as that is to believe,
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that goes on, guys.
Ty Cobb wouldn't have put him in.
Well, here's the other thing, Artie, that happens. Why? And we had one voter in San Francisco do this with Maddox this year. They don't vote for him because, quote, everyone else is voting for him anyway. So I'll vote for a guy who I think needs help and needs more respect. I won't use one of my votes for a guy that's getting in anyway. So that's
Oh,
also
so
keeping the
no
guys
one
from
actually
unanimous.
voted against Hank Aaron.
Right,
No one said he's unworthy.
No,
They just
no.
gave their
They
vote
just
to somebody else.
Right.
Okay,
They get
that's
10
all right. I
spots
get
there on the
that.
ballot, so they used
Yeah.
up 10 other guys and chose not to put Hank on because they figured somebody else would.
The Klan had a vote that year. I know you cover all sports, Casey. Give us a blow-by-blow version, your version of the Dennis Rodman Korean game.
Honestly, I swear to you, the first thought I had was, is that Charles Smith on the screen, and can I punch him?
What exactly was Rodman saying?
I have no idea. I swear to you, like, I turned it on
over.
this morning, and I'm supposed to look at it, like, legitimately and think of the politics, and I saw Charles Smith and thought of the 1,754 freaking layups he tried to hit
Awful.
in the playoffs for the Knicks.
Oh, I know.
Without ever just jumping up, and please, my God, I am 5'4". I dream of being able to dunk. I have one of those short baskets that you sit here, and I wish I could just dunk in my own house. That man blew so many brick layups for the Knicks in his career. That's all I noticed. So I didn't even realize.
You only needed one. You only needed one. Now, I watched it on the sports bar. I had about 10 dimes on the Knicks on the money line. On the money line for a game 5.
The worst.
I can't even get into it. My goddaughter couldn't go to a community college because of that game. Casey, I love you. Call back anytime.
All right. Always a pleasure, Daryl.
Thanks,
Big fan
Casey.
of yours, man.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
well, guys.
That
All
was
right.
fun talking to you.
Follow this guy on Twitter. All right, we have another great comic here, Dante Nero. You can either stick around or go.
I don't care. I got nothing to do. I'm waiting for the food.
We'll bring Dante. We'll bring a mic in. Dante will be here. He's a great comic we've had on before. And
I don't want to hog his time, though.
when you see this guy, you're not going to want to upset him. He's a big guy.
All right.
But he's a funny guy. He's a gentleman.
No, you know what? I don't want to hog anybody's time.
No, you're not. You're not. It'll be fun.
All right.
This is a round table. It's like David Suskind's old show.
Okay.
I'm waiting for everyone to Google David Suskind. Okay, back after this with Dante Nero and more sports talk.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.